we were back in Arkansas. My wife, Barbara, and I moved out in '79 to New Mexico. I'm a dentist, and I worked on the Eastern Navajo Reservation. I went out for 6 months in 1979 and still am there. So I practiced on the Eastern Navajo Reservation for 5 years, then moved to Socorro and bought a practice from an old Hispanic gentleman, Eustaquio Leyva Garcia from Rancho de Taos, New Mexico. And he sold it to me because I was a Presbyterian. He said, "Oh, you know, the missionaries, they sent me to Manal School, and that's how come I'm a dentist. I would be a sheep herder without the Presbyterians." So I bought the practice, a dental practice, for $14,000. That's a rounding error, needless to say, in a modern practice purchase. But it was not much, but it was a start, and it went all right. We were home visiting, and we were in a mobile home that Brother David and I lived in. It had belonged to my mother's mother until she became infirm and couldn't live there. So we were there for Christmas, I surmise. So I was seated here, my dad's mother, my father, my brother David. Others may have been there. And Mother got on her verbal tears. Perhaps some of you know this. She said, she was literally scared to death. People say that all the time, you know. No, literally. Yes, ma'am. No, literally scared to death. Well, we didn't dare say a thing, you know, because she didn't mean literally. And she kept this up, and she wouldn't be satisfied. And finally, David broke. And he said, funeral? I mean, did they bury her or cremate her? Mother glared at him. He said, literally. And she glared at him, and he wouldn't back down. So she looked at Pop over here. He goes, literally. And boy, steam was coming out of her ears. And she glared at me, and I said, literally. And boy, she was just, you know, she was always the smartest guy in the room, and often that was true. And she was rarely wrong. But she had really, the other day I saw a meme on the internet, literally, the new figuratively. So she was ahead of her time by 35, 40 years. She would not look at her mother-in-law. Mama died in '88. She was seated right here. And she looked at Mother, and Mother wouldn't look at her. I mean, she's bleeding from the eyes by now. And Mama said, "Evelyn, you made a mistake. You were wrong. You erred." And I don't know how my mother survived the thing, because she had a rivalrous attitude towards her mother-in-law, and it was mostly one-sided. You know, Mama was not this person she said she was. But, I mean, it was an event to be cherished, watching my mother set herself on fire with no help from anybody, with my grandmother present. So that was my story, where my mother lost the argument all by herself.